All right, welcome back. It's time for Data Point, and tonight we're focusing on the journey of Eurobonds in the country. And we begin with history because the very first one was issued in 2014, to be specific, the month of June. And at that time, that Eurobond was worth $2 billion US. Of course, based on the current exchange rate that time of 87 shillings to the dollar, the amount that came into the country was 174 billion Kenya shillings. But now that it's 2024, if you were to buy dollars to pay, it would cost us up to 310 billion shillings, and this is based on the current exchange rate of about 155 shillings to the dollar. Of course, if it shifts, then you change accordingly, so you can start to imagine what the implication has been to the country. Now, during that time, the IMF in October of that year, 2014, they said this, that the government plans to set up a sinking fund to build up resources for the eventual repayment of the Eurobond. So this sinking fund appears may have just sunk because we do not have the resources for that repayment, and that is why we are going to the market to look for some more dollars, and that's exactly what has happened. Now, beyond that, something important to understand is that at that time, that $2 billion US dollars Eurobond, 1.5 billion component was for 10 years. The remainder of 500 million shillings, $500 million US dollars was for 5 years, meaning that a bit of it was already paid. But that money, when it came to the country, some 600 million US dollars was used to pay a syndicated loan that had been contracted in the year 2012, and the balance was said to go into infrastructure and energy projects. That's the communication that came from the government. In December of that year, again, the government went to the market and did something called tap issue, tap sale, and procured another 750 million US dollars. 500 million shillings was taken to the 10-year bond, while the 250 million US dollars was taken to the 5-year bond, meaning that eventually there was 2 billion for 10 years and 750 million for 5 years. And in June 2019, the 750 million US dollars was repaid, but it was repaid by taking another Eurobond, which we'll look at shortly from now. Again, let's focus on the 2 billion and what it means, because that 2 billion that was taken in 2014, the interest rate, or what they call coupon rate, was 6.875%. So if you had to calculate the interest rate based on that, the interest cost would be 1.375 billion US dollars by the year 2024 in the month of June. So this is equivalent to, in current terms, based on the exchange rate of the annual average of those particular years between 2014 and now, it would come to an equivalent of 155.7 billion shillings. So that is the interest component. So let's see what that does to the total costs. So the borrowed money in terms of US dollars was 2 billion. That time it was 174 billion Kenya shillings. Today, if you had to buy the dollar to pay this same 2 billion US dollars, it would cost you 310 billion shillings. The interest rate, or the interest cost, has been already 155.7 billion shillings. And again, this is based on the interest paid for each particular year, converted using the average forex rate for that particular year. Comes to 155, the total would be 465 billion shillings. So you take 174 billion shillings, 10 years later, this is what you pay. You can start to see the implication. Again, something to focus on is the journey of Eurobonds in the country. So again, 2014, it was for 10 years, 2 billion taken. The coupon rate, or the interest rate, was 6.875%. In the year 2018, another Eurobond was taken for 1 billion shillings. It matures in 10 years, which is 2028, the next 4 years. The rate is 7.25%. In the year 2019, another loan was taken. That is 900 million US dollars and 1.2 billion US dollars, of course, maturing at different times. The first one in 2027, the second one in 2032, but the total was 2.1 billion US dollars. Part of this is what was used to repay the loan for 5 years of 2014 Eurobond. You can see the rate, how it changes. And then in 2018, there was another one that was taken for a period of 30 years, matures in 2048, 1 billion US dollars. The rate was 8.25%. In 2021, in the second term of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Another one was taken, maturing in 2034, and it was $1 billion at the rate of 6.3%. But now one has been taken under the presidency of William Ruto. It matures in 2031. It is $1.5 billion at the rate of 9.75%. So that change of rate should be telling you something about the place of Kenya when it comes to credit rating. Something more to focus on is what the government is getting. So the face value is $1.5 billion but the issue price is 97.27%. What does this mean? That this bond has been issued at a discount, meaning the actual money that will be raised is less than 1.5 billion, which is 1.45 billion US. It is to be repaid in a schedule of 3 years, starting the year 2029, 2030, and 2031, meaning in the year 2029, we must pay $500 million, the subsequent year $500 million, and the final year $500 million. This is important because of a reason I'll tell you. But first, the principal is 1.5 billion, which is the face value. In current terms, it's equivalent to 233 billion shillings. The interest is 9.75%, the interest rate or the coupon rate, 9.75%. So the interest would be 146.25 million shillings every single year. But then again, because of the changing, the amounts that will be paid between 2029 and 2031, then the average time is 6 years. So the actual total interest would be $877.5 million. What does that do? Eventually, the amount of money that the government of Kenya will pay is what has been taken, which is 1.5 billion, and the interest, 877.5 million. In total, that will be $2.37 billion. The implication, the impact will be felt in the years of repayment based on the exchange rate that will be applicable at that time. Finally, let's take a look at the repayment schedules. Because of all those Eurobonds that have been taken, they have to be repaid. So in 2024, we are paying $2 billion. In 2025, we'll pay at least 300 million. 2026, at least $300 million. 2027, another $300 million to take care of that loan of 900 million USD that was taken. 2028, there will be a repayment of $1 billion. 2029 and 2031, it is the principal amount of what has just been taken. So each year $500 million. But also in 2030 and 2031 and 2032, there will be another payment of $400 million for the Eurobond of $1.2 billion that was taken a few years ago. So that is something you need to be aware about because it has an impact on not just current, but the future, because the oldest Eurobond that we have matures in 2048. The implication of repayment begins now or continues from now up until around 2034. There will be a lull a little bit, but then more will be repaid up until 2048. But the government, based on that pattern, may require to take more Eurobonds to pay existing Eurobonds. And that is data point tonight.